So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Mentoring Mondays with Patrick Tucker. One of our student assistants, Colin, is going to introduce our guest for today.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Fontenelle. I'm a student assistant here at the LAFCC. And today we have with us Patrick Tucker, who has served as a registrar at CCSU since 2012. He previously served as a registrar at Capital Community College in Hartford and taught part-time at Naugatuck Valley Community College in Waterbury for several years. At CCSU, his areas of responsibility include overseeing student registration, academic records, degree audit, and graduation, catalog/curriculum, and academic schedule. He earned both his bachelor's and master's degrees at the University of Hartford in communication. He also started working in higher education while at the University of Hartford as an undergraduate admissions tour guide and then as a graduate assistant. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
And thank you for being our constant. I think
I-
we might have to have a prize for the person who actually agrees to come rather than sending.
I look forward to the introduction every semester. Let me share my screen here before I forget, right? 'Cause it seems like this is more complicated than it should be. Let's see. Oh, that one. Right, there we go. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. I always appreciate the invitation. And you're so nice to be here. It's such a nice, it's such a beautiful, nice fall day. I know we're talking about it's the holiday or for a lot of folks that have school off, but we're here and we'll talk about registration and advising next semester. So that's good. Timing wise, gosh, this is perfect, right? Because we just kicked off last week. We just kicked off the advising and registration process. A whole bunch of communication went out to students. We posted the course schedule online, so we're at a really good spot of the semester to talk about kind of what students should be thinking about and kind of getting ready for the spring semester. Everybody get an email Friday, I hope, right, about time? Okay.
I'm not a
Right.
student.
We can make
I
that.
got an email from my department chair saying the schedule is live. Double check it very rapidly and very carefully.
Yes. Yep. So we are getting going for advising and registration for the spring semester. It seems like we just started the fall semester, but here we are. And the next stop will be Christmas, just like we said. It's kind of how the fall semester happens all the time. But why don't we just talk about sort of some of the things that you should be preparing for the spring semester? And then I know when we were here over the last year or two, we talked a little bit about the new schedule planning tool. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from students over the last year or so. We've kind of made some changes and updates and things across the way. So we'll just make sure everyone knows how to use that. Because hopefully it's a tool that helps kind of prepare for registration, makes that process a little less stressful, and hopefully takes out some of the manual work that you had to do before. All right, so why don't we talk a little bit about, I'll mainly reference the Register for Classes website, but this is a lot of the information. Let me get Kaiser go away there. A lot of this information was also in the email that everyone received on Friday. But really, we're getting ready for advising. So that's really the first part here. Everyone should know who their primary academic advisor is. And most departments may have a setup now where a student may have more than one advisor working with them. Does anyone know if they have two advisors assigned to them? Not sure. Maybe.
I don't have to, but my old advisor changed. She went on sabbatical, so I've been doing.
Yeah, so departments have just finished the process of advisor assignments. So, right, there could be some changes like that if someone's on sabbatical.
And if people are in a school of, if they're BSED candidates, they have someone in the department and someone in the School of Education and Professional Studies.
So it's not uncommon to have more than one advisor assigned. In fact, most other majors are moving in a direction where students will have multiple advisors. So you really just have essentially multiple contact points across the university. One of them will always be designated as primary. So when you're looking up your advisor, you typically would meet with your primary academic advisor. You can always work with your other advisors as well too. But that's an important part here, is to set up a meeting with your advisor first. Prepare for registration. Hopefully one of the things that you'll talk about is courses that you're planning on enrolling in for the upcoming semester. You can use your degree evaluation to help review which requirements you've met, which requirements you haven't met. Then after that point, we're really preparing for registration. So there's a couple things we can talk about in terms of registering for classes, planning your schedule. Registration opens up based on the number of earned credits that a student has. So if you are an undergraduate student, and if you have earned, this doesn't count in progress versus, let's say you've earned 61 credits or above, your registration time period will open up on, in this case, Friday the 10th at 10:30 in the morning. So definitely make sure you have that date and time identified. You can look that up. The biggest mix up here is that students count credits that they're still in progress. So you only want to count credits that you have actually earned on your transcript rather than you may have 15 credits in progress or 12 credits in progress this fall. Those wouldn't count towards your earned hours yet. You earn them until there's a passing grade. So I know that's a little, that always causes students a little bit of confusion. That's okay. It's job security for my folks. We remind folks they have to look at their earned hours rather than those that are in progress. So you should make sure you identify on the early registration calendar when registration opens up for you. But really, we want you to then plan your schedule in advance. So we'll go into on the Web Central. There's the new registration and schedule planner tool, which everyone has access to. Most folks have probably used this at least once by now. Has everyone used this at least once? Not yet. Maybe. Okay. So what semester did you use it for? This current fall semester. Okay. So yeah, that was the first semester that most students use the new tool. So when you go in now, we'll print our select spring 2024. You have a couple of different options to get started. You're really going to building out a course list of courses that your advisor have discussed enrolling in the upcoming semester. And then you also have the ability to add breaks, which is, it's more than just breaks. This could be things like if you have a work schedule and you can't take classes between, let's just say Tuesdays and Thursdays, you work in the morning. You could set up other commitments that you have, family commitments, athletics, clubs, activities, things like that. If there's kind of hard conflicts that you have that you need to work around. Excuse me, you can identify breaks for those obligations here.
Patrick, this will say the class is a required class and it's only offered once or twice during the semester. It'll turn up and say that your break is in conflict,
Yeah.
right?
So in this example, I did a work schedule Tuesday, Thursday in the morning. If your department offers a course where there's only one section, right, and it's offered at that same time, it'll basically tell you that you have essentially a conflict that it can't resolve. So that's a good way to help kind of plan around if you're thinking about work schedules or other commitments for the spring semester, whether or not you need to adjust that to enroll in a required course, et cetera. Has anyone already met with their advisor or has kind of a list of courses that they're thinking about for the spring semester? Okay, so I was going to say we could do this based on someone's individual, or we can just kind of hypothetically go through this. That's
Speaking
okay.
of, when should people who will probably graduate in May be submitting their graduation so that they know exactly what they need to take to finish?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which-
So on your one thing we'll do, let's look at mine as an example. I am not a great example because I don't have any classes here. But let's say I
Oh
was
dear, your GPA is.
terrible, probably. Yes, we should work on that. Let's say I was an accounting student. And when you are approximately a year before completing, right, you'll notice there's a line item requirement here encouraging you on your degree evaluation to submit an application for graduation. So we encourage you when you're within a year or there, you can click, it's a link, just apply to graduate. That will come to the registrar's office. We'll review your degree evaluation, which is essentially hopefully something that you've been reviewing the entire time you've been a student here, but also with your advisor. We'll confirm your remaining requirements. So again, everyone's in agreement that you have, these 5 or 6 classes, whatever the case might be, that are left for you to complete your program. As soon as that's submitted and processed, you'll see a checklist. It'll be checked off here on your degree audit. So that's something that we intentionally kind of put there on the main checklist to make sure that you're hopefully looking at that every semester and as you're approaching graduation in this case. 3 dummy credits that I've applied. So in this example, it's a bad example. I've got a long way to go until I get 120 credits. But if you are finishing up your junior year, starting your senior year, that's definitely something we want to make sure that you're doing. We'll also reach out to students. So we're also identifying students that are within a year of completing their degree requirements. We'll be reaching out to them to make sure that they know they have to apply to graduate. In many cases, students might need to declare a minor. You might need to confirm your curriculum that you're in. Some students have always talked about changing their concentration, adding a minor, dropping a minor, things like that. So this is also an opportunity for you just to kind of lock in your curriculum that you're going to graduate with. It's a great question that comes hand in hand. Hopefully that's something that you're discussing with your advisor during your advising session in terms of.
Or your employer.
planning out.
We have a couple of people who are gonna graduate.
Oh, yeah? Who's graduating?
Body
In
is gonna.
May?
In
All
May.
right, okay.
And then, Jolie's Reyes is graduating in December.
Okay,
And hopefully, yeah, they have submitted an application for graduation. Yes, good.
okay. If you haven't, it's not too late. We encourage you to do it a year before. And that's really just to a student's benefit to make sure that you get clarity right as much lead time as possible, but that's okay. We'll take graduation applications anytime. Okay, so registration and schedule planner really is where you'll be working with all the building of your course list and then generating schedules and then actually registering for classes. So let's do kind of a hypothetical. Let's say that I met with my advisor and I've identified a list of 4 or 5 courses that I would like to enroll in for the spring semester. So what you would really do is just build that course list right here. Let's say I am an accounting major, right? And one of those courses that my advisor and I discussed is Accounting 300, right? We can add that to our course list here. We can review the course description. We can review the prerequisites just to make sure we're progressing correctly in our program. We can add that to our course list. Let's say Accounting 301 is a course that my advisor recommended. I've got 2 courses on my course list. I've also got some general education courses that I need to fulfill. Let's say I've got a literature course that I have just been putting off from taking for a while, but now's the time to do it. If you select the literature requirement, it's going to filter down to just the courses that would fulfill that requirement. So it makes it very easy for you to just drill down to specific courses. And let's say I'm really into poetry, so that sounds like an interesting course. I can add that to my course list. Let's go back and say I need to do a behavioral sciences course, putting that one off for a little bit too. But I really would like to take Introduction to Anthropology, let's say. So let's say these are the 4 courses in this example that my advisor and I have discussed enrolling in for the spring semester. If you also have a specific faculty member that you just want to make sure you absolutely get their course or that specific section of their course, you can filter just by assigned instructors. So Dr. Abed, you can see specifically the courses that Dr. Abed in this example is teaching. Or if you know a specific course that you absolutely want to take that individual section, you can load the section number here. But in this example, we'll just take these 4 general courses. So we have gone back and built out our course list. We've gotten our breaks. It tells us when we can't enroll in courses. So really our next step is to generate schedules. And it's come up in this case with 4 different options that I can review, which is not too bad. Sometimes if you have courses with 10, 15, 20 sections, you might have 200, 300, 400 options to look at. But this is not too bad. You click in the view icon here, you can look at the examples here. In this case, accounting looks like they've got 2 online courses. And then 2 sections of anthropology and English. There's a nice visual on the map that shows kind of your timeline of your week, your work obligations, when the anthropology class would meet, when the English class would meet. This example, the accounting classes are online, so they're not on a schedule. So we're looking at schedule option 104, so you can scroll through and look at some of the different options here. So in this option, now it's got an accounting class that's on ground. So you can see how that looks. That looks not too bad. So if you're someone like me who likes to do all your things in a row, You can have a busy Monday and Wednesday and work on Tuesday and Thursday. You could say this one looks pretty good. I'll favorite it for the time being, so I don't forget it and come back to it. You can scroll through and look at our different options here. This example, I don't like that. There's a big break between there. That might not work as well for me. So you have the ability to kind of review your different options. You can always go back and make changes here. So in this example, let's say, you know what, I was only going to take 4 classes, but I think I want to take 5 classes. You're registered for 12 credits. The tuition's the same, whether it's 12 credits or 15. So if you can work it for your schedule to enroll in a full-time course, let's say I need to do a communication skills course that I've not done yet. Really need to do. Course, I know there's lots of different sections for. So now we've added 5 courses, we have regenerate schedules, and now I've got 14 different options here. So you can scroll through. And again, look at your different options. There are a lot of ways that you can customize this too. So for example, if you are working with Communications 115, I know this is a course where there's lots of sections offered. There's 8 sections of it offered. If you know for sure that you have a favorite faculty member, let's say in communication, that you want to make sure that you just work with them or just enroll in their section, you can filter down just by the faculty members that are teaching that course. That's a familiar name. I know Montes is here next week. There he is right there. Let's say you really wanted to get this first section. You could filter that down again so that any schedules you're looking at would just be with that one individual faculty member that you selected. So I know a lot of students, we've gotten feedback that a lot of students wanted the ability to narrow down the sections that are offered based on things like faculty members or specific sections or dates and times. So you can certainly leave it open and let the schedule generator generate schedule options for you pretty wide open. Or if you click into the sections gear icon there, you can do those advanced filters and do things like limit it to specific section, top line specific faculty member, or if you want to exclude a certain section based upon the days or time that they need, you can do that right there. So that's a little bit of feedback that we got from students that they really wanted more ability to kind of refine it on their own. That's how you do that. Got 4 options here. Okay, we got 2 online courses. Don't like that one. Maybe I like that one. So that's might be an option too. I'll call that my favorite schedule too. So what I've basically done so far is just kind of shopping around at different options. Those favorited schedules that I made will now show up on a new tab here. So as you're kind of thinking through different options, you can review your options here. This is the first option that I did with just those 4 classes. I have my second favorite one, which is all 5 courses that I found based on that specific section of that communications course that I wanted to enroll. So from this point, you can do all this work prior to the start of registration. So after you've met with your advisor, after you've identified your course list, this is really like a sandbox where you can kind of play around and create different options and kind of see how different scenarios might play out for you if you like different options or others. When you find the one, right? So let's say this is the schedule that's going to work for you, the best you can do. You'll send that right to your shopping cart. And what it's essentially going to do right there is sit in your shopping cart until it's your time to register. Then as soon as your registration time period opens up, so I say November 10th at 10:30 a.m. was my magic time. When that happens, I can log right in here. I'll see this in my shopping cart. I'll check right now as all of these courses have plenty of seats open. But as registration opens up, you might see if any of these courses fill up. If that's the case, you can swap it out and make an edit just for one section. But as long as there's still seats available when it's your time to register, you can simply click the register button. If I do that now, it's probably going to give me an error. It should give me an error message. Yep. Because it's not open yet. Yes, it is not eligible for registration. But essentially your schedule that you kind of perfectly created and crafted and customized based upon what works best for you can sit in your shopping cart until it's your time to register. At that point, it's simply one click at that point. So I know in the past, when that clock struck 10:30 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon and everyone was scampering to get in and register and build your schedule, you've really done all of your homework at a time and your schedule is kind of pre-built for you, sitting in your shopping cart, just waiting to essentially click buy on Amazon, if you will, and confirm it for you. So it's a pretty smooth process. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from students over the last year. We've changed a little bit of the displays. You might not even know some of the columns and things like that. Folks wanted to more clearly see the faculty member assigned to the course. We've made sure that's added in more places along the way. But otherwise, we've gotten pretty good feedback from students. Interested in your experiences, if you have questions or if there's different scenarios that you have. If you're thinking about the spring semester, kind of how are you going to pull that together?
Really good experience with the system so far, and whatever complaints that may have had, you have already made adjustments.
Good to hear. Okay. Yeah, we did a survey to students right after the fall semester registration ended. We got about 500 responses, which is pretty good. Most students thought it was pretty user friendly. It took a little bit of time to get used to it, but kind of once you figured out how to work it the first time, it was pretty easy. We've added a couple of video guides to the header here. So if you click the kind of schedule building and registration, for example, or the registration changes at drop, little videos will pop up that are, they're just a minute or two long, to just give kind of a little overview of things. So there's a couple other videos that I actually am requesting to put a few more links in here. So I know students had asked for just a little more instruction and guidance for the first time they're using it. So we've crafted some of those resources. Hopefully it'll be a smooth process for you all as you get ready for the spring semester.
And I had students use it last spring and I didn't hear any complaints, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I heard is that students are really used to kind of looking at all options on the schedule and kind of handpicking, I want to make sure I get that one section with that one faculty member.
Right.
Versus if there's 10 sections offered, rather letting the system kind of pick whichever one of those 10 sections we get. So that's really why we've tried to give a little more effort to these section options here, where students can go in with those advanced filters and kind of set those filters. So if you want to make sure you get into Dr. Mahoney's section of history, whatever, you can specifically select that right here. So it makes it a little more customizable.
Or avoid it.
It works both ways, I suppose.
Listening.
Okay.
But no, if you showed us, I could show you. And then it makes schedules for you.
It's funny because we got a lot of feedback from students who were seniors that were like, yeah, we've been doing the same thing for the past couple of years. We're not going to learn how to do something new right now.
But I wish it been.
We spent a lot of time this summer. So with during our new student orientation sessions, we did registration sessions with all incoming students and showed them how, after they meet with their advisor and they kind of identify their courses that they want to register for, how they build schedules, how they make changes. So I think it's been really new students that are kind of, it's the first thing that they're learning.
Right.
I think it's been pretty successful. We have another question I'll just mention is this folks have happened too, that we do default to open classes only. So that's something that's been a little controversial, I guess, because we do have some courses that have wait list. So it's been we don't put students on wait lists as much as we used to. I actually think that's an okay thing. We want to try to get students into open sections and build schedules. If
Right.
students do want to specifically look for courses that are closed and only have wait lists, they need to specifically opt into that and change the setting to the open classes and those classes that have a wait list option.
Well, because most of the wait lists are on 1 and 200 level classes, right?
And typically there's a lot of other choices, or in some cases,
Right.
50 or 3 sections of something.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So we want to steer students into open courses first, just so they have confirmed seats in courses. But if you do want to look for courses with a waitlist option, you do just need to change the default filter and kind of opt into it there. that's one
Okay.
thing that's another little video that about waitlisting I'm gonna
Right.
put in there right now.
So, Patrick, can you explain also, the various types of holds that we see? I mean, I don't know if students necessarily see them, but, you know, when I go into a student's transcript or
Mhm.
whatever, it all often, student has X, you know, academic hold
Mhm.
or, right?
Yeah,
So,
so there's been a couple.
and some stop the registration process and some don't.
Yeah, there's been a number of changes with holds. I actually think the university's gotten a little more student friendly with holds, which I'm
Okay.
very happy to share. But as part of the preparing for registration process, one of the things that you can go in and do is essentially if you you can check for holds on your account.
Okay.
I'm a bad example.
Can I hold, can I check for, they'll show up if I like click on the students. Like one of my
Mhm.
advisees,
Mhm.
records,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and for the faculty view of advisees, Holt is one of those things that does show very easily.
right,
For students themselves, they can go in and check their registration status. I don't have any holds in my account because I'm not really a student, but they would show here. There are different holds, right?
so there's so the registration hold is usually a financial hold,
Yeah, most of the ones that students will see right now are placed through our bursar's office.
okay,
That really has something to do with account balances. They've changed their policies a lot so that we don't restrict registration right now. Students just have relatively small balances on their accounts.
right,
So they've gotten a lot more friendly with that. They used to stop it if you had a parking ticket for $10, they'd stop registration, which makes no sense. So they've made it a lot more, they made it a lot more student friendly. I think the balance threshold is $1,000 right now, to
Right.
be honest with you.
right.
So you would see that here.
Now, a transcript hold is. So there used to be holds, for things like, those aren't the only two holds that are available, is it?
So we used to see holds placed by our student wellness area around immunization and health
Okay.
requirements. They've not been doing that nearly as much as they used to.
Okay.
So students used to see a health hold on their account,
Yeah, I
which
don't
would
know
prohibit
those things.
registration and things like that.
Because that's usually like right when students begin,
Like
right?
within the first year or semester or
Okay.
two. Typically, honestly, most holds that you'll see are financial related from the bursar's office. You're right, there used to be a transcript hold too. For a different balance, they've changed that actually as of October 1st, so essentially.
Yeah,
it's the
those
same-
are-
it's the
that's-
same- it's the same threshold.
Yeah.
It's the same threshold. So generally speaking, registration holds, obviously they impact your ability to register. Our bursar's office will send out communications. Last Friday, we sent out 1,200 emails to students that have holds, just as a reminder that they have to get those cleared up or work with the appropriate office and campus.
Or at least find out what they are.
So I think we've gotten student friendly holds, which I'm very pleased about. But yeah, it's always a good idea to go back to, your registration and records tab. You can just click view holds just to ensure you don't have any holds in your account that would prohibit registration. But likely, if you do have a hold, you should have received something before then from the appropriate office. That's basically it. The other question, let me answer the other question that often comes up too, is we still have the old course search pages, right? I know sometimes students really like the ability to look at all course sections and kind of see the full schedule. It's just select everything. And I'm that way too. I like to open up the full schedule and just kind of scroll through it.
I think that some classes used to fill more when we had the paper schedule. Because people would look at the whole
Yeah.
packet, not just the, what do I have to take kind of thing, and particularly for gen ed classes, I think
Right.
it made a big difference.
Or you might have,
In things
50 or
like-
75 different options.
Well,
Yeah.
not only that, but like in Latino studies or Latin American study, things that students don't necessarily understand exists. Yeah, or things of that nature. Yeah,
That makes sense. I can understand that. But this schedule view still does search here. So if you want to you're like me, let's say I'm an accounting major and I want to see every accounting course that's being offered, even though I might not be enrolling in half these.
Yeah.
You still have the ability to do that. You also have the same ability to do the same searches based on general education areas, kind of what we were talking about before. So let's say I want to see all of the literature courses. You still have the ability to do a filter, and this is going to return again only those courses that carry the general education credit for study area 1 literature. So you can scroll through and see all of your options, which again might include some things that you might not immediately think of. So these schedule searches are still here. We're going to be transitioning away from the old registration system. So the one that you knew, love, or hated or tolerated for a couple of years.
Even though I like really chose the old one last semester, it's still like so overwhelming and it stresses me out, and I would cut off looking at my courses for as long as I could until like registration week.
Really? Just because it was too much?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Really?
Yeah, I never thought of that as one of the things that made students come in late.
Yeah.
It's just too overwhelming or too much
Yeah.
to process.
Okay.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. But I can understand it. We will probably be turning off the old system. Right now, both the new one and the old one are still available. We haven't made an official decision yet, but my guess is this cycle is probably the last cycle that we're going to keep the old system up with the new system.
So,
This is all very old technology, and IT has been wanting to pull the plug for a very long time.
oh, so can I show you something?
Sure.
Just like, so, like for me, right? Search for courses, search by spring 2024, submit. And then I want to do an advanced search so I can actually see what's there. So I'm already doing. Right, so where to go? Well, let's do, right, Latin American studies. But it's like, sometimes it's like when you click the first time,
Mhm.
the semester,
Mhm.
and you say registration, you click, yeah, and then it says you want an advanced search. The next thing you know, you have to choose the semester
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a mess.
It's this is, oh, I don't know, gosh, the vintage 2005. So this is going to be retired
Okay.
shortly.
So what are the things we're working on doing right now? Yeah. So can I print this? No, not find me on prints.
Last one.
Yeah, there. There, Melody. So one of the things that we're working on right now, yeah, is a list of all the Latin American and Latino studies classes,
Okay.
right? How would we find this when you get rid of this old system?
Mhm.
How would we be able to do this? Because one of the things we're trying to do is help students identify classes that might be
Right.
in their area, right? That might be in the subject area that they wouldn't know about. All right, so let's keep an eye out for Professor Katutsus, who is new, and I don't think they managed to cross-reference her. Here she is. Right, yeah, so these ought to be cross-listed somehow into something. But she's brand new, and so the English department didn't figure it out. So, right?
Listing. Yeah.
Close reading, it was said American, and she's doing comparative. All right, so we've got to check the English department
There'll be a new,
as well.
there'll be a new version of this schedule search.
Uh-huh.
To be honest with you, I don't love it, but it's what the vendor supports. But there should be the way to do some keyword searching too,
Okay,
so that it wouldn't be dependent upon having to know a subject or a course discipline or something like that. You could do some keyword searching to help return results that may exist in different subject areas that you might not know.
Oh,
There
okay.
will be- There will be a replacement for this. Like, I can't say that it's a significant improvement, but it is a more modern interface. So we'll always have the ability to use the schedule planner to kind of build your schedule. Then we'll also always have the ability to do something like this, where you're basically searching the whole schedule for certain things that meet certain criteria.
Right, because I mean, one of the things that we're being encouraged to do, which I suppose I should ask you all. It used to be that the idea was to have a title of a course that when it went on your transcript, it is history of
Mhm.
whatever. Now we're being encouraged to have jazzy titles that students are going to respond to. And there are some that are turning up that have jazzy titles, and I'm like, what does this mean? If I were a potential employer or a grad school, I'd be like, all right, it's a graduate history class. What's it about?
For the special topics or is it an actual?
Some of them are special topics.
I've seen some creative special topics titles. Maybe that's.
Yeah,
Say.
right? And the idea is that a creative topic is going to bring more students in. The computer engineering technology major.
It would work for certain schools, I think, like maybe
Right.
arts, liberal arts schools, maybe, but for the social studies, the engineering, those kind of, I think it would throw off a lot of the incoming students, because some of us would prefer, okay, history 305, history of
Mhm.
Western Mexico from 1505 to 1960.
I know what that is.
I know what it is. Does it interest me? Yes, I did. Jazzy time, Mexican history from the middle.
Or no, or Aztecs, invaders, and I don't know.
I mean, I'll watch it like, that's an interesting title, but I have no idea what the class is.
Right, because I mean,
Sorry.
I've done class, our senior seminar around a theme called Environment and Society, and students are always asking, well, Dr. Mahoney, what is this, what does this mean? It's like, well, it's the impact between society and the environment. Right? Like people, we all live in the environment, and if the environment is whatever, yeah. So I don't know. Since it's your department, Melody, what do you think? Yeah,
I see the jazzy titles. I know, Dr. King, he has jazzy titles that people are interested in. I forgot what one is. History,
so there's one gaming in history, but that's not a jazzy title. That's actually what it's about. Because most computer games have some historical narrative behind them.
Kind of interesting. That's a great quote.
Okay, it's a really good course.
That's not a good cover. Because I played games with a lot of with heavily historical references.
Yeah.
Like the Assassin's Creed series. That goes back several different time frames of history, and it's somewhat accurate. They changed a couple things in there, but it's relatively accurate.
So it's sort of about, I mean, it's a combination of, I think, analyzing what's in games, but also talking about how to develop historical narratives for gaming.
It's interesting.
No, he's the first person to use the esports space as
Oh,
for a
yeah.
course. Yeah, for a whole
Yep,
semester
yep.
course.
they've been online.
Oh, yeah, they're filling up
Make
like
it wait.
instantly.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's, yeah, that's a little hard to manage too, especially when, the problem, well, let me take a step back. One of the challenges with special topics classes, it's hard to just maintain that record of what it was.
Well,
For a
so
long time.
right, America to 1823, Latin America since 1823. Like, if I even know how I would come up with a jazzy title for that.
Right. It is what it is.
It is European conquest of the Americas. I mean, Atlantic world, it's an introduction to the Iberian Atlantic World is, but that's not really a jazzy title either.
For some of the special topics courses, right, I think you see that. I see the jazzy title thing for try to encourage enrollment. But I think you look at it another way that, we have to maintain this record for rest of your life, right? So
Right.
if 20 years from now, you're requesting a transcript because you're going to grad school or a doctoral program and there's a course. I can't even think of a funny title right now, right? But if it's hard to kind of answer that question of what's going on in this class, what was the course description, what was the content of it. It's a little-
So in
little
other words,
challenging.
save your syllabus.
Yeah, special topics are a little challenging. They're fun and, in that they're jazzy and it's eye capturing and gets your attention and probably fulfills a requirement you need for graduation, but yeah, it's not clear to someone looking at a transcript 20 years down the road, maybe what that was versus history since, 1865 or whatever the case might be is pretty straightforward. Yeah. Well, as always, we've had a nice conversation. I
And
appreciate the
it's
insight.
almost 1 o'clock already.
Time flies. If you have other questions, you know where to find me. Please feel free to reach out. Always happy to be a resource, but hopefully everyone will be getting ready for the spring semester before we know it.
Thank you for coming and
Yeah.
informing us about the new schedule maker.
So I don't know if you, I should show you, because I don't think we've sent you. I should see if I can find, some of the, so we've done GPS maps with the registration data that you've sent. us.
Okay, all right.
And, I should, before you leave, I should. if you
Yeah,
have a minute,
I'd love to see, yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I've got a whole collection of this now, so that's awesome, thank you. All right, very good.
Oops.